Hello everyone, and welcome to the Axolotl Work in Progress Challenge. Just a heads up, my normal computer's in the shop at the moment, so I'm gonna be recording all of this from my iPad, which means two things. One, you won't see my face in the corner, and two, the audio is kind of lame. So apologies for that. I promise that it will be better in the future, and it's better in all the other TDU content, but if you have any questions, if I missed anyone, again, let me know, and I'll make sure to do a recording for you as well. All right, happy lighting, everyone. Hello everyone. So I went ahead and into the Facebook group and I grabbed all the work that you all have been doing, and I have 9 of the projects here to go through a critique. If I missed anyone, if anyone doesn't see their project here that they've posted since my written critiques, definitely let me know. I will make another one of these videos and I'll get you the critique that you need. So quick reminder, final submissions due October 31st. The last day of the month, and then November 1st we'll kick off a brand new lighting challenge, and we will also be announcing our winner from this month. So we will go, let me go in reverse order from how they were posted. So the ones that were posted longest ago to most recent. So we'll start here. So for this one, I know that you were just doing some, like getting everything in place. The shader's looking really good. You're getting some really nice detail in this area and here. You're seeing some really nice stuff working there. Couple things that you want to watch out for. First off, I really like what we're seeing here in the specular areas. I like that amount of specularity to what we're seeing. You want to watch out. There's like a hard line going on down here, and I don't know if that might just be happenstance by what's going on in the background with the blur, but it feels like a matte line. And so I would either eliminate that or just kind of soften it in the comp, because and definitely separating the foreground from the background. Watch out for how saturated the little tentacles are getting. Not a problem, it's just a little bit too much. It feels a little bit too siege, a little bit too just over the top, and I would eliminate that. Watch out for these sharp shapes in here and these shadows. It might be the transmittance coming through or something, but you can see here there's just like these kind of sharp shapes cutting across, so I would just watch out for that. Once you get in a little bit more, I don't want to give too many of these notes, but you can, get some eye dings going. There's more opportunity for shaping in here in the shadowed areas, so I would definitely look into that. And then the other thing is these in this background. Let me go ahead and take this off. So what you can see in these black areas in the background, they're a little too black. And when we're talking about something being underwater, we're talking about a lot of atmospheric fall off or aerial perspective. So we're gonna not feel those super blacks. I know it's a small space, and normally when we talk about that, we're talking about like vast distances in nature, but underwater, there's a lot of murk, there's a lot of stuff to diffuse the light and diffuse it as we go back in the distance. So I would just make sure that those had a little bit of value to them. It's totally fine if you don't go super blue, because again, if it's a fish tank, the water's pretty clear, but there just is some stuff in there that's gonna break up the light. So, you can make it more green, because I really, really like how this warmer tone is popping off from the green background, but just something to be aware of there. But overall, this is in a really good place. And then I would just encourage you to keep pushing the mood, keep pushing the story of what this little guy is up to. Next up. Really like this one. Love the reference that you were using. Let me just pop over there to show you guys here real quick in case you didn't see it. So the first one was Landon's. Now we're on to Leon's. I'm selfishly, I love that you use this stuff. I actually worked on this sequence a long time ago. Not the individual shots that you chose, but I lit like a saber-toothed tiger or something in this. So I kind of know what the aesthetic goals that we were going for. So that's kind of cool. So one of the biggest things that we were looking at in a couple of these references that we want to see is like there's some core values which are there, but like check out all the rims, like check out all the pinks and blue rims on this guy, and then picking up these specular highlights on this, and then using the light to specifically focus on the face. Same thing here with Scrat, light specifically focusing on the face. Same thing with the gorilla here. There's a little bit of darker value in through the chest and the legs, and then the main bright points of the face, and then the hands holding up the fruit, and then using a fake light source back behind her to kind of centralize the focus there. So I think that's definitely something that we can go with. in yours is that we are, you're doing it here, but I think that like some of these values back in here can come down and we can just really just focus in right there. And that'll allow us to focus in right there as well. So that would be the biggest one. And then just like, again, really use darker core values and then allowing that to pop off the center there. In terms of the background, I think that there's more that we can do to separate the values. Because if we just look at this and like you squint your eyes at it, the tonal value between here and here is actually pretty similar. So we're going to want to do something to break those up. I would suggest, because again, we've talked about this with the previous one, it's underwater. So I think that this value is actually probably pretty close, but we can go a little bit darker in here. So like we can make this area darker in there, and then it's just like a little bit more contrast, and we can use the contrast of that guy to pop it forward a little bit more. And the reflection's looking really good. I think it's an interesting reflection problem because, and perhaps this is part of the story, but it looks very different. Like he looks like a green versus like these two areas, especially like, and it's especially the pinks. Like if you look at like this patchiness on his face doesn't fully match up to that. Like this is much more contrasty than this one. And so I would just be aware of that a little bit. Additionally, there's something that's lining up back here that I like. It's strange because I know that this is this plant, and I love how this is kind of wrapping around and bringing the attention back down here. But like if you look right in here, this plant feels like a continuation of his tail. So I would actually use this thing more. I would actually use this thing more as a framing element and push it over here to the right. Let me see. I would actually push this over to the right a little bit and use it as a framing element around him, and then coming back up and around, almost as something there. And then we can like darken around here with some vignetting to kind of get the focus here. And then for the background, like if this is becoming more contrasty, we can like keep the contrast of the background, maybe just bring it down a little bit. Yeah, that's tricky. Maybe just bring down this edge because this is kind of penetrating into his face there, and I would just maybe bring that down just a little bit. And then here, yeah, I think that would just about do it. So feeling pretty good about that. I think you're in a good spot here. And then additionally, I think we talked about this in the last version of this one, but just hinting, there's a little bit of life out there, but maybe just hinting at some bigger shapes out there, just something out there to kind of clue us in that there's the larger world out there. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty good for that one. Next up, this one's funny. So this is a definitely unique take on our little axolotl here. Would love to see some reference on this, just to get a better understanding of what we're going for, but we'll give you some notes. This eye is our central focus point. My eye goes right there, and it doesn't have as much detail as this one, so it'd be really great to get a little bit more detail on that guy. I'm also noticing a lot of disjointed areas between the base of these things coming into his skin and his skin. And I know that they're going to be different materials, but just like the lighting around the connection point, like right in there feels pretty disjointed, to the point that I'm not sure that they don't feel like they're in the same space. Like same thing with this one here. It just feels like it's kind of hovering, floating around it. Like there's no connection point between these two here. And yeah. And then additionally, looking at these windows, they're all kind of uniform, right? There's these back here too. They're all kind of perfect. They're either on or they're off, and they're just perfect squares. And like these couple buildings, like this one, and this one, like they're all, like all the lights are on, which doesn't feel real. Like I'm looking outside, it's getting closer to nighttime, and there's gonna be a lot of variation in the light color where the light's coming from. It's definitely not going to look like that. It's not just going to be a square of light. There's going to be variation in there. So I would try, in order to make the city feel a little bit more alive, to add a lot of variation to that. I do like your color palette a lot. I would look at some Spider-Verse reference. At their city stuff, they've got some really, really great use of like this color scheme with an abstract city, but it's like there's some variation in there as well. From the atmospheric fall-off standpoint, I feel like we can, again, go a little darker on him to pop him forward. And same thing with this stuff in here and like this in here, because it all kind of feels like one level of aerial perspective. Like it's a little bit different between here and back here, but it's not that much. I want to see more step off to it. I want to see like this in like area 1, like this is 1, and we can like darken these to get them to be more of a framing element. And then this would be fall back into space 2, 2, 2, and then 3, 3, 3, and then back here is 4, 4, 4, and then all the way back it's 5, 5, 5 in terms of like how we're stepping back into space. Probably 5 back there, 4, 3, that kind of thing. So we can really start to feel the depth kind of come through. In terms of we're seeing here out of the God rays, they're not matching up with where the light here is coming from. I guess that's coming from like some off-screen building. It'd be so what I was saying before I said that was that this light's coming in here, but these lights are coming down this way, and that's kind of causing this joint. But I guess that's the skylight that's causing like this, and then this pink light here is more from like an off-screen thing. Okay, now I get it. So I would just maybe give this a little more motivation. Like if this is that bright and this almost feels like it's on the same parallel as that, maybe add a little pink to this and really just kind of bring the eye in here. Something like that. I think that would work. Okay. But overall, very, very cool, very creative concept. Very nice, straightforward stuff here. The depth is throwing me off a little bit, like just like this area here, these kind of hard lines here. This is like a hard line here. I would try and do that. Love the shaping that you're getting across them. Again, the detail in the skin here and the shader, you're really making that pop forward. Watch out for this hard specular line and these hard speculars in here. I think that we can probably soften those a little bit just from the look of the character a little bit. The saturation point on some of these plants here and here feels higher than the axolotl. The axolotl is falling into a more, I guess, photoreal saturation point, although this guy back here is feeling a little bit more saturated. So I would kick his saturation down a little bit, and then but I would also desaturate these super green plants in the foreground, possibly up his saturation a little bit. I love this rim that we're getting here and here, but it'd be great if we could use it to separate his head from the rest of his body. Maybe kind of broaden it out, maybe reposition it, because right now his head shape is just fading back into here, and it all kind of feels like one homogeneous shape. So just watch out for that. As we mentioned some of the other ones, just fill in some of these dark areas back here. But overall, I think this one's looking pretty good. I think you can also add in some vignetting here and kind of darken, because this feels very portraity. And I think that you can kind of push that a little bit more. And again, because we have a still, we can go after these vignettes a little bit harder. But really great job here. And then, again, eye-dings for the win. Okay, very cool reference here. Love the idea. Love the look. Love the shaping and the integration that you're getting on the bubbles. I think that's really cool. It's difficult when the character's a little bit smaller on screen like this. So I would almost clear out some of the bubbles directly around him, and then just make them, just because it's like occluding him a little bit and it's starting to feel a little rough. like it's just like a little bit tough to see them. So maybe just thin them out a little bit around them. But I love the overall look that we're getting from them. In terms of, and I love the abstraction of these. Like when I was talking to some of you other guys about like darker shapes in the foreground and then stepping back, you're doing a really nice job of that here. And I think that we can do that as well. There needs to be more bounce light or something on the iPhone here. This darkness is a little bit too heavy. And it feels not integrated with the ground. And again, because this is underwater, it's going to be a little bit more lifted. What we're looking for is more like the underside of some of these leaves, like up in here. And I would just lift that up a little bit. Because again, it's usually a very, very bright, reflective material. So you'd want to definitely have it be reflecting the surroundings a little bit. In terms of... Let me think what else. So the other thing that I would do with this screen, just because I've done a lot of screen work, is you want to add like an ambient occlusion around the edges there just to kind of drop it down into the space a little bit. Because you want to think of the screen being like you would just want to create some darkness because it's a little bit inside of it. In terms of the reflection under here, I feel like it's a little bit white, maybe add a little bit more coolness to this. And then it'd be really cool to get some just like a touch of like a little bit denser volumetric light in through here to kind of get that to read up. You do it, like I said, I think you're doing a really nice job of darkening in through here. We can darken a bit more at the top, maybe a little bit more at the bottom, really kind of read it in. I'm trying to think if I'm thinking about ways to get this character to read a little bit better. So the one thing about him here is that we're not taking full advantage of the opportunity to get some shaping on his head and up in that area. So like this is really nice underneath here, but let's zoom in on here. But we're not really feeling it in the top some. So I would maybe add some sort of skylight or something up here to really add some shaping up in there. And then I'm blown away that an iPhone would work underwater, by the way. I do not believe this for 1 second. That is the true miracle of this story. But overall, I think that's looking really good. The one thing about the bubbles that I need to look into some reference and just double check me on this, because bubbles are funny. Sometimes they, like, you'll see, like if a, like say this is the bubble like this, and there's a light source coming from underneath. Sometimes you'll get light here, but I'm also wondering if we'd see light here because all of these are facing down, like it's all kind of facing that point. So I'm wondering if not only on your bubbles, you'll see it on both ends. So like you would see it here and here. So just check in on that. And I think it would be okay. Yeah, and then just watch out for some of these dark shapes on his nose here. He's just looking a little bit dirty, a little bit dinged up. Okay. This one here, I know you were talking about how this is like your first lighting assignment. You're just kind of getting into it, and that's really cool. I'm super excited for you. It's a really cool opportunity. I think that, yeah, you said you were wrestling with the shaders a lot. It's this is a little bit of a more complex scene, so it did take a little bit of time to get that set up. The one thing I would recommend, and we do this a lot in our courses, is talking about how to approach a scene. So it feels like you just kind of jumped right in. You're like, I'm not really sure the look or the emotion that I'm going for. I'd ask you to take a step back and just really think about where you want this character to go and what you want the feeling to be. It feels like this is like an adventure and he's coming to the end, and like you really want to tell yourself this story. So there's something magical going on in here that he's longed for, that he wants. It's like, if we're underwater, imagine Finding Nemo. He's about to find his son. He's about to find the treasure. He's about to find the really cool thing that he's been looking for a long time. So let's really hype that up, right? Let's really get into that as the story. Let's really make that light warm, glowy, inviting, and then maybe he's been through a lot. Maybe he's had to go through some challenges. So everything else around here and around here is cooler, and that way we're able to balance this warm light coming out of here with this cooler surroundings, and we could really take advantage of that. Now, in terms of the lighting itself, a few things to consider here. One is that I would really like it. So, it feels, obviously the light's coming from this way in front of him, and it just feels like this light here is coming almost from like this way because it's hitting him pretty frontally. I would like to see it more. It doesn't have to be like a perfect rim, but I want to see it more kind of like picking up his form and picking up his shape a little bit more. This area is it's nice that you're getting some good shaping in there, but I would tone it down on that rock because there is some like fine detail, and it's like it's almost pulling my attention. I want my attention to be here and here, right? I don't want it to be here. I want there to be some dark values in between there so that we can read this 1-2 connection between the character and the place that he's going. So I would either remove this rock or do something to tone it down, or like have the light linking so it doesn't quite hit there, because we want 2 main pockets of light, 1 here and 2 here, and that's pretty much it. So in terms of these guys, they really, again, your camera and your composition, your cinematography is really good here. Let's tone those down though. Let's make those a little bit darker. Let's pretend like, and by the way, you can like if you want to go a different way with your story than what I'm talking about, feel free. This is just my interpretation of it. I would turn off all the other lights in the set for right now, and then really just have this light be our focus, and then kind of play things in from there. So allow that to happen. That'll allow all this foreground area to fall into darkness. That will allow some of this other, and then if that's warm, then just think about add coolness and shaping into this area. In terms of his color, he's kind of purpley right now or white. Maybe warm him up a little bit just so it's just to help push the mood. And then watch out for stuff like this bright point. You don't want things like that distracting too much and pulling away from the character. But I think that hopefully that helps, and I think that'll get you in the right place. But we always encourage people to take a step back, think about their mood, find some reference that sells that mood, and then really go from there. Okay, so now we've got 2 from Nicholas. And really cool stuff. Love the rim coming up here. Love, like, this is just really fun. I would, just, like this guy here just feels a little bit too bright. I really like feeling it up around here and seeing his eyes, but this is very bright and it's drawing my attention away. I want this to be area 1, like this triangle between the 2 of them, and then I want to feel this up here. But this isn't really working for me. Love the subtle shaping that you're getting around here and around here. I think having that fall into that same value will be good. Love the little bits of shaping that you're getting back here. Getting some suggestions of the vast space without it being too much. This feels too pink in the middle of his face. I want that to be the golden color too. It's a tricky one because it almost feels like it's white light hitting his face as opposed to this guy. So I would also darken his eye there to get him to pop forward and get that eye to read. But I would make everything in this triangle, or not everything in that triangle, but this part of his face a little more golden to read like it's part of that. Also, I'm looking at this now. This might be getting a little bit too hot. I would take that down maybe 20% or so. Like this, like you're watching this here, just getting a little bit burned out. So, but overall, I think this is looking really good. Go ahead and then I would add us. So these 2 are here and here and here and here about the same. I would just make this 1 and 2 so 1 would be a little bit darker to pull it forward, and then maybe like these darks get just a touch darker too, and really pop him forward. But yeah, I think this is looking really good. I love how like there's these little bits of fleck hitting from the pink, and like that really makes it feel integrated and part of something. So really good job there. And then this one's looking really cool. Love the color scheme of it. This one feels so painterly to me, and I can't quite figure out why. It's like the softness and the texture. A few things you want to watch out for. There's some glowiness, I bet, from the subsurface going on in his mouth there. So I would watch that. And then I would take down the value on this rock a little bit and then over here a little bit to kind of really keep it focused in here. Watch out for this hard line. Something wacky going on there. And then maybe add a little bit of specularity, just like a touch in here. Love this shape, man. This is really cool because like this is really kind of focusing the eye in here. And I think that's really, really helping a lot. Good job on the subtle rim there. There's a little bit of noise in here. This might just be low res, but like in the depth of field, it's looking a little noisy. So I would try and add some samples to that for final render time. But I just like really like how you're using this like pocket of warm light back here versus all this other stuff to kind of pull the attention into the middle. That's very cool. Very much liking that. Okay, this one's looking really strong. Oh, also maybe just darken up here a little bit. Here, darken, because really just keep doing everything you can to get the focus, and then the eye, ding, right in there, right on the cusp between the pupil and the iris. All right, last but not least, this one's looking really good here too. I love the shaping that we're getting here. I feel like the foreground can go a little bit darker. The one area I really want you to focus in on is getting some shaping in his like tentacly horns, because right now some of these are like this. These are looking flat, especially. And then same thing with his head. I think we can favor a little bit towards one side or the other. I know tanks have like a lot of light just coming straight down, but we can definitely favor either this way or this way with it. There are some similar pink values in the background. I'm wondering if we can change those up a little bit. I'm wondering if that, like, it's strange because sometimes it like that help ties it, that'll help tie it in. But in this case, I feel like it's like if I can, like some of these, especially in here, right, like that one right there, really kind of like at first glance, it feels like it's part of his body. Double check the penetration points there. Like it's odd that this finger is that big and that one's like teeny tiny. So just make sure his hand's not getting buried in that log. I really like the shaping you're getting in here and then falling back down there. I think that's really nice. We just need to feel more of it up along the top here. And then, yeah, but I think this is looking really, really cool. It would be great. Sorry, I just went quiet there for a second. I wonder if there's something we can do to break this up a little bit. Because like this back here is looking maybe a little bit consistent, but then it would be too distracting. See what you can do about adding just some, like maybe just like a couple extra little rocks or shrubs or something back there, just to break that up a little bit. Because right now, this whole ground is feeling like just a flat plane, and maybe it would behoove us to get a little more objects and a little more shaping in there. And then with this big, massive overhead shape, you're going to want like a little bit of a square eye-ding in there too. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. But overall, I'm loving these guys' faces. They make me, I could do this challenge all day, every day for the rest of my life and be totally happy. Again, I apologize for the bad audio a little bit. It's